here's a fun fact. At least here in the UK, in the same amount of time when we've had Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness release, we also had Everything Everywhere All at Once release in like the same sort of week. Everything Everywhere All at Once has been pulling in more admits than Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. A smaller independent A24 film is beating a Marvel movie. And I think that's just so cool. Like, I love Marvel films more than most people, but I also love the fact that this smaller production is winning. I love that, and I love this film. Hi everybody, I'm Harry, and let's talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once, and why it's the most wacky and amazing and stupidly smart film I've ever seen. Let's get into it. So what even is this film? What is Everything Everywhere All at Once? Which I just love to say really fast. So it's a multiverse film. So you could imagine and by the title you would assume that this is quite a complex film. Actually, it's not that complex. I mean, in its theme and its ideas it is, but as a film, as like the concept of the film, it's quite simple to understand. When Evelyn, our main character, who is the owner of her own business, when she goes to have to do her taxes and all of the other boring stuff in life, she comes across her husband, who is actually not her husband, but a husband from a different multiverse. Yeah, you heard that right. Her husband from a different timeline has come to find her because she's the only Evelyn that can destroy the multiverse sort of bad guy. And I'm not going to say any more because you really need to see this film. I don't want to spoil anything about it. This film explores the idea of a multiverse so well, but it also sort of tangles in these themes of sort of like purpose of life, the idea of families and communicating with said families. It's a really deep time wrapped in like a quilt of stupid funny action. It's so good. This film is one of those films where as soon as it ends, you sit in the seat in the theater and you're like, that was cinema. That was art, what you've just watched. And let me explain to you why. Why do I love this film so much? Let's start with the action, because this is, at its core, an action movie. It's got a bit of drama in there, it's got a bit of sci-fi in there, but it is an action film. And the choreography, and how the action's shot and how it's planned is so good. It's so fluid. It's funny. However, they don't rely on the action to carry the film, a la like John Wick or most other sort of action films where they're kind of relying on the action to interest the audience. This, however, it has awesome, interesting choreography, but also has an amazing story to it. Like, the fights are so creative, and they're just fighting with some of the most random and funny things. And the reason they're fighting, I don't even want to ruin the spoilers for it. The reason they're fighting is just so funny. It's not often that you find a narrative that also works with the action. A lot of the time, it's sort of, here's our narrative, let's throw some action on there. But like, the action is in purpose of the narrative, if that makes sense. I think it does. It's a good film. And the writing itself doesn't underestimate its audience, especially for this kind of film. And it's the first of many, I'm guessing, that's a multiverse film. This sort of new concept that we're introducing to. Marvel have been a big pioneer of it. That's their next biggest thing. However, this film doesn't wrap itself up in trying to explain to you what the multiverse is. They don't spend an hour and a half being like, okay, so this is how this works, you've got to do this to get into the multiverse, and then you can't break this long list of rules, and you have to do this, and if you do this, then the world's going to collide. They don't do any of that. The multiverse is just this thing in the universe, and they say, this is how it works, I need you to do this, let's go fight some people. And I love that, because as much as I do love Marvel, at the moment, their plans with the multiverse, to me, are kind of clunky. Every movie, like the last, let's count, like 4 things that come out that deal with the multiverse, they're telling us more and more and more and more and more information and more rules, and each time one of these films comes out, it's another way in which the multiverse is broken. So it's like, just pick a rule, simplify it, because I'm not having fun if you're just throwing information at me. In Everything Everywhere All at Once, like, they spend, like, what, 10 minutes of the film explaining the whole premise of the multiverse and how it works. Even before that, they're, like, hinting at how it works, so they're not spending a lot of time on it, because we're a smart audience, we understand how these things work. We live in a world where Avengers Endgame exists. Like, I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once isn't trying to fight against the Marvel machine. It's simply taking advantage of that and making their own art from it. Because thanks to Marvel and things like DC and superhero films, we can understand the premises of what's going on. We can understand what a multiverse is. So, yeah, they don't spend half an hour explaining what's going on, we just get into the action, and that's good writing. Of course, we've got to touch on sort of the aesthetic parts of this film, the aesthetic, the colour grading, the costume, especially the costume design and the production designer, are so good. They capture that sort of lower budget sci-fi film so well, and I feel like that aesthetic works really well for this kind of film. If if they had this huge CGI fest, I feel like it wouldn't be as enjoyable. Like, I feel like the whole point of this film is the charmingness of it. Like, it had 4 VFX artists. Like, that's crazy for how they like pulled this off. Yeah, I'm just like super proud of them. Like, this film looks excellent. I'm very excited to get the 4K and watch this at home, because as much as I did enjoy watching it in the theater, I feel like it would benefit from an at-home screening. It's one of those films. The acting is absolutely brilliant. It's got the guy who played Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and that's all you have to know, because that fact that this is like the first thing the actor has done since Indiana Jones is so cool. They've picked such a good film to return to. This cast also has Jamie Lee Curtis in it, who read the script, understood the brief, and absolutely just went for it. Like, they killed this role. It was so funny. They play like the tax auditor, and they just knock it out of the park. It's really good. Finally, I love how they've done the theme and the messaging of this film. It feels like they've definitely gone, here's the message that we want to send out to the world. How can we make an interesting and fun movie out of that? Instead of going, here's a cool concept, let's just throw a message in there so it's cinema. Everything Everywhere All at Once does go for like 5 different messages and themes. However, they pull all of them off because the plot of the film is based around those themes and messages, and I can't speak much on it more because it will spoil the film. However, yeah, like every plot point like develops the theme and the messaging, and it's really good. It's rare where you get to dedicate the entire film to several different messages, which is genius, and I think a testament to the writing and the directing. So that was Everything Everywhere All at Once, and why I loved it so much. I really do hope you get a chance to go out and see this, because it is a good film to see at the cinema. However, I would be very happy to buy this on 4K and the vinyl and the steelbook, because it's such a good film. So yeah, definitely go give this a watch. It's been out in the US for far too long. You folks over there have had this for too long. And it's just come out here in the UK like a week ago. So definitely go and give it a watch. And if I just say the word raccoon and bagel, raccoon and bagel, comment that down below after you've seen the film, because they're my 2 favorite things about this film, raccoon and bagel. Thank you very much again for your continued support and watching this video. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. I am very, very proud of you. Except from that, can you just have a great day? Thank you.